It went older. It went younger. We can't control that stuff. And what I control in my auditions is my preparation and what I do on the mark in the moment. It's like, that's what I can control.
Welcome to Get Scene Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is Get Scene Unscripted. I have to say thank you so much to everybody that is leaving a review, listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, commenting. It really does mean a lot. I love reading all of the comments and all of the reviews and just really seeing that this podcast is making an impact in your actor journey. So thank you so much. And we got to give some love to D.Y. Pierce, who said, I have been soaking up Get Scene's knowledge for the past year. Now that they are bringing guests from every sector of film and acting to the podcast, the knowledge their guests share is even more accessible. Every episode has a nugget of wisdom to digest. And we're about to bring you some more nuggets right now. Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Pierce. And with that, everyone, we got an actor on the podcast today. It is Mr. Jason MacDonald. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Jesse. Glad to be here, man.
Dude,
thanks for having me.
So happy to have you here. And you do so much within the Atlanta community. And so it really is great to have you, man. I can't wait to get to know you even more. I mean, we know each other pretty well, but I think we're going to dive deep today.
Let's dive deep, man. Thanks for having me. And, you know, you and I have both been in this town for what, like over 10 years as far as teaching, as far as educating. And
yes.
We kind of started at the same time and we do a little bit different things, but I love the community here and I love that we're part of the community here together. So
yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah. And I can't agree more. And if you guys don't know Jason, he's one of the co-founders of Drama Inc. They teach incredible classes. So if you guys don't know them, definitely go check them out and you're going to learn more about it as we continue. But Jason, as an actor, you're actually super jealous, a dual citizen, so you can work in Canada and here. Can you talk about that? I know one of the incredible projects you got being a dual citizen was getting to work with Kevin Hart. So can you kind of maybe talk about that experience and how that's really been able to help you elevate in what you do as an actor?
Yeah, and it's really an incredible story because that movie, Man from Toronto, Sony Pictures, $77 million budget, ended up on Netflix, but that's another story. But it was going to shoot in Atlanta. I auditioned in Atlanta in 2020, early 2020, booked it, and I was supposed to shoot in April of 2020, and we all know what happened then, right?
Yeah.
So in the summer of 2020, I was looking at the trades. You know, I read Deadline, I read Hollywood Reporter, and I just saw a blip that Man from Toronto was going to start shooting in Toronto. And I was like, well, dang, let me get on, let me figure this out. So I contacted my Toronto agent. She talked to casting in Toronto and they were kind of like, well, yeah, he can audition. And she's like, no, he got cast in the part in Atlanta. And they're like, yeah, well, he can audition.
You had to audition again?
Well, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Because then I texted Chase Paris, and I'm very fortunate to have a relationship as you do with Chase. He was my agent before he became a casting director. So I was like, hey, Chase, Man from Toronto's shooting in Toronto now, and I can work there as a local. Anything you can help with? And he shot off an email to somebody. An hour and a half later, I get a call from my LA agent so confused, saying, yeah, you just booked this movie in Canada with Kevin Hart?
Wow.
And so I had to explain to my LA agent. I was like, okay, this is what happened. So, I was local hire up there. I had two demands. I said, not demands, but I had two requests. Can I please be paid in Canadian or in American dollars rather than Canadian dollars, which they agreed to? And can I be on a SAG contract rather than an ACTRA contract, which is the union up there, because I wanted to pay into my pension and health here. And they agreed to that too. And I had to get myself up there, but they gave me housing stipend, and it was a really nice deal. They really took care of me. And I went up there and quarantined for 2 weeks and then sat around while dates changed and dates changed and dates changed. Because this is fall, September of 2020, right? Everyone's testing. COVID's still rampant. Kevin Hart's chef got COVID, so that shut everything down for a few days. It was just like stuff like that. So by the time I got to shoot, It was an incredible. Have you worked with him? Did you do?
No, not yet. No.
Yeah. There's like, he's one of the kindest people that I've ever worked with in this business. Gracious, so generous, so complimentary. Like being on set with him. First, I'm glad I've done some improv in the past because there's the script and then there's what Kevin Hart says. And it's very
That's awesome.
right? Like if you watch this scene in the movie and he's like doing this thing with his thumbs, he's like, I'm going to poke your eyes out. He made that shit up on the spot.
Nice.
Like, it was incredible. And Sony actually released some BTS video, some bloopers, and of me hanging from the ceiling and him like cracking up because he kept laughing. He kept laughing at his own stuff, which was hilarious. But he was incredible. Like after we did like the first couple rehearsals, day one, and then maybe we shot a couple things, and he's like, Jason, thank you so much, man. You're giving me so much good stuff to work off of. You're giving me so much to play off of. Thank you. Like that. He didn't need to do that. He could have just ignored me. I was the guy hanging from the ceiling.
Right.
But and then in that, when we would go to do another setup or they would be changing angles, he would be like, instead of going back to his trailer, he's like, hey, like check Jason's wrist. Jason, how are your wrists? They doing okay? Those handcuffs seem to be cutting into you. And I'm like, I'm okay, Kevin. He's like, props. Put some more moleskin on those handcuffs. They're cutting into Jason's. I'm like, no, really, it's okay.
Wow.
And like that level of kindness and caring when the guy could just be chilling in his trailer, just a great attitude on set. I loved working with him.
If you're an actor, I invite you to our Booked It Challenge coming up on February 5th. It's 4 weeks and only $48. The challenge is broken up into 3 main aspects. 1, giving you strategy to help you get more auditions. The second is giving you tactics to implement into your auditions to make them bookable. And then the third is we bring in a casting director every single week. This challenge is going to help you grow in such a big way and really give you momentum here in 2024. And I have really good news for you, everyone. Use the promo code unscripted20 and it will save you $20, meaning it brings the challenge down to $28, everyone, only $7 a week. And every single class is recorded. So if you have to miss a week, don't worry, we got you covered. So use the promo code unscripted20 and I look forward to seeing you at our Booked It Challenge starting February 5th. Now enjoy the show. That's incredible. And how do you think that, because I feel like I had like a similar experience, well, actually several experiences, but where you see that lead actor and they're just so kind and you're like, that's why they're here. Like I see how you got to this point. And then I'm always like, I want to bring that next time I'm on set. How do you think that we can like bring that without being like overkill, right? Because then it can be weird too, as like the 1 day guy comes on or the 1 week guy comes on and we're just like trying to be overly kind and all that stuff. How do you think we can bring that onto every set we are and that type of kindness?
Yeah, I mean, part of, we'll probably talk about mantras and affirmations later, but one of mine is, one of my affirmations, daily affirmations, is I lead with kindness and grace. Like that's how I want to start every day, is giving people grace, trying to see it from their perspective, not jumping to conclusions or anger, which in my past was a thing. I think just being kind and being interested in people. I've had the opportunity. I'm lucky in my career the last few years. I've bumped up on the call sheet on some stuff. And when I did Home Safe, I was number 2 on the call sheet. When I did Don't Sweat the Small Stuff with Heather Locklear, I was number 2 on the call sheet. And it feels different at that place.
Right.
And for me, I'm trying to make eye contact and chit chat with everybody, if they're open to it. Like some crew guys sometimes don't give a crap about the actors,
right?
But just treating everyone with respect, understanding that everyone has their job. You know this, Jesse. It's like baseball, right? Everyone has their position, and we're there to play our position, and we can't play our position without everyone else in theirs.
Right.
And so understanding that, going to any set, even as a new actor, understanding that you're just a part of the bigger picture is super important. We're cogs in the wheel. But yeah, leading with kindness and grace. You and I both worked with Michelle Dockery, right? On Good Behavior.
Mm-hmm.
What a kind...
Well, I actually worked with Ann Dowd.
Oh, you worked with Ann Dowd. That's right.
Which was equally as incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But people like that who are happy to be there. You think about being a series regular repeatedly and being at that level. don't you think you should be kind of like, hey, this is really nice. I've got a good life. I'm paid really well, and I'm going to treat people well. Now, you and I have both worked on sets where that's not always the case, right? Where number 1 and 2 on the call sheet are not open and not friendly. And I get that on certain shows. Someone once complained to me about Nina Dobrev on Vampire Diaries. It's like, oh, yeah, she barely even talked to me. I was like, she has an entire show on her shoulders.
Yeah.
She's not thinking about this scene. She's thinking about the next scene, the scene after that, and what she's shooting tomorrow, and the next episode, and the photo shoot she's got to do, and the PR thing she has to do. It's like, don't take it personally. So, if Nina Dobrev doesn't go, hi, hey, nice to meet you, it's not about you. Right? Think about what her workload is. Incredible. And side note, Nina Dobrev's one of my favorite people in the world. Also from Toronto, also Canadian.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we bonded over that. So I played her dad on Vampire Diaries.
Sweet.
So I don't know if I answered the question, but it's...
No, you absolutely
it's
did.
about, yeah, I think all of us leading with kindness and grace, no matter what position you're playing.
You say that you start like every day with that. What exactly, like, can you kind of break that down? How do you make sure that you like remind yourself of that and you make sure that that's at the forefront of your mind? Because I think a lot of us can be like, that sounds good. I want to do that. And then tomorrow comes and we forget. And the next day comes and now we're just back to life. So how can we actually lead with that?
I have a great morning routine that I stick to pretty much when I'm in town. And that's walking my dogs with no phone, no headphones, no nothing. I mean, I have my watch, but no distractions. And it's just time for me to think. And then that is every morning when I do that, I start my affirmations. And some of the ones I use every day are, I'm grateful for this day, and I lead with kindness and grace, and I release the past, which has always been a big one for me, because they're things that we all hold on to. And then they alter, they change. But that's just my morning routine, is to get out, walk the dogs, get my mindset set, and then come home, have a cup of tea, work out, and dive into the day.
Nice.
So, some mornings I'll get a mile into the walk and I'm like, oh, I haven't done any affirmations yet because I'm thinking about other stuff, or I'm not I'm tired or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, here we go. Okay. Grateful for this day. It just it matters.
Yeah, something that's so, and I from Tony Robbins, he talked about this like hour of power, which is kind of similar to what you're talking about, where you just kind of go on a walk, and he focuses it more on great gratitude and gratefulness. I love the affirmations as well. I should probably throw that in. But what I realized was at one point I was outside the perimeter living in Dunwoody, so it was more of like a neighborhood, and I just walked on the sidewalk, and then I moved into the city and I had a condo, and so I stopped the walk because like it was just louder outside, and in the fumes from the buses and all that stuff, and so I stopped, and when I stopped, I was like, I gotta get back to this. And it was so interesting. When I finally did, I realized that I wasn't as good at it, that it really takes practice, that it is a practice, the affirmations, the gratitude. And if you don't, so I think for anyone listening, like keep in mind that like you might not be good at the affirmations right off the bat, that, it takes practice, it takes repetition, just like acting work, really.
Yeah. And I have days where I wake up and I'm pissed off about something that happened the day before, and it's a good way to get myself into that mindset of, okay, that was yesterday, and what can I do today to make things better, or to, I hate conflict. I'm a person that I just can't stand conflict. I want to resolve things. When I had a restaurant here in Atlanta before I opened Drama Inc. I co-owned a restaurant for 7 years, and the restaurant industry.
I do. Not like you though. I would imagine.
You get some interesting people working in restaurants.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I discovered, as an adult, that there are people that like conflict, that like to fight, that like to have drama and chaos. So I'm always trying to work counter to that, right? How can we find a smooth way out of this? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about Drama Inc. and my partners, but one of my partners, Claire Bronson, the thing I love most about her is that she does not let anything fester. Like, we can have a little, disagreement about something, a major disagreement about something, and she will call like 4 hours later and she'll be like, okay, Let's talk about this. This is what I'm thinking. This is where I was coming from. And I love that. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that in other people, that they're like able to reflect and go, okay, all right, maybe I'm not 100% right on this. Let's talk about it. And so many people that are just so like my way or the highway. It doesn't work. We have to compromise. We have to compromise in this industry, and we have to compromise in life. We have to take the wins and the losses and go, okay, well, that didn't work out the way I thought it was going to, but look at this great thing that could potentially come out of this, right?
Yeah. And how do you think we get there? Or how has Claire mastered that maybe?
I don't know. We'll have to ask her. You know, it's funny because we have 4 partners, right? My wife and I, Catherine, and then Scott and Claire. And Catherine and Scott have always been kind of the quiet too, and Claire and I have always been like, come on, yeah, you know. And that means that we can bump heads. But I don't know. I think for Claire, you know, it's from something in her upbringing, something about she had to navigate a lot of stuff as a kid, and I think she was an adult at a very early age. So I think she's learned how to navigate adult problems from a very early age, and she's good at it. So
yeah. And I think there's also a part of just like making it less about you, you know, and when you make it less about you and more about, you know, I had this on, we talked about this on the podcast with Charles Green actually, but he talked about within his audition, make it less about me and more about we. But I think that is actually a great lesson just for life.
Yeah.
Is like, we need to get it off us. Just like in the scene work, right? And in our auditions, it's like, get it off of us and more about us, or more about like just me and more about the us, the we. It will be, it will always serve you. Always.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we're collaborative artists, right? That's what we do. We work with other people. I mean, how many sets have you been on? And, you know, hundreds of sets that you've been on, Jesse, where you're like, you come in with an idea and then that's not exactly the idea they want, and you're having to adjust on the fly. And that's what we do. We adjust on the fly as artists, as actors. And I think it helps us as humans too.
Yeah.
Being able to roll with the punches.
Back to you being a dual citizen.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I love what we just talked about, but I feel like so many people are like, man, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Canada. I want to work in Canada. Yeah. Is that realistic for someone?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
It's really hard if you can't work there, if you don't have papers. Canada's just like the US as far as immigration. It's hard to get working papers. And funny, you know, I haven't worked that much up there. My Canadian agent gets me great auditions for stuff, and my booking percentage is not great up there, but I'm being seen, which is nice. I have agents in different markets, which is nice, and we can talk about navigating that. But the thing is, for Toronto and Vancouver, for stuff in Toronto, I would be a local hire. So I would have to get myself up there and stay with friends or family or something, which is not a big deal. But no one's going to fly me from Atlanta to Toronto, right?
Right.
Now, if I booked something in Vancouver, they would probably fly me because they're going to fly an actor from Toronto to Vancouver anyway. So why not fly them from
LA to Vancouver?
Or LA, Interestingly, Catherine, my wife, booked the lead #1 on the call sheet on a Lifetime movie in the summer of 22, and it shot in Vancouver. And they flew her. They got her papers. It was like, because she doesn't have citizenship because she was born here. She's not Canadian because she's married to one. So she was like one of those American actors that they fly up to Canada and get them do all the immigration stuff for them, which was cool.
So for that to happen, you're really just auditioning here like normal, and then it's like, oh, by the way, this film's in Vancouver. We'll do everything for you. Yeah. So an actor shouldn't be focused on, that's a really big market up there, I should try to put energy into it. It either will happen or it won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like LA actors, American LA actors are auditioning for stuff that shoots in Vancouver all the time, right? And they're getting flown up and they're getting their immigration taken care of by production. So yeah, that's the way to approach it, rather than I want to get a Vancouver agent or a Toronto agent, but I don't have the ability to work in Canada because they want local. When they want Canadians, it's the whole quota thing, right? It's like they can only have so many American actors they have to hire within the country. So it's it's funny because I just auditioned for something for Canada, and it was a very narrow description, and I was like, God, there's probably like 6 guys that can do this role in all of Canada. So I don't know, we'll see, because there was a height requirement. And it's like, so I was like, oh, I got a good chance at this one.
I love when that happens. You're like,
Right?
narrow out the herd.
Yeah, exactly. Must be a Canadian citizen, must be 6'2" or taller. So
Sweet.
that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's also, if we're going to talk about, having agents and rep in different markets, I think what a lot of people don't understand, Atlanta actors like, I need an LA manager. I need a New York manager. It's like, okay, are you ready to fly yourself there? Are you ready to put yourself up there? Because you're going to be a local hire, it's funny. I talked to Chase Paris about this recently, and he said we might be on the precipice of a time when they do fly Atlanta actors to LA and New York. Like that may become a thing, which we can only hope, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be incredible if in LA they audition an actor in New York, they don't think twice about flying them to LA.
Right, exactly.
But they would not do it in Atlanta yet.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, Catherine did a movie called Topper in 2022. It was in LA. It was through her LA rep, and they flew her from Atlanta. No question. It was just like, oh, she's in Atlanta? Okay, yeah, we'll fly her. Which seemed like a breakthrough. It seemed like a breakthrough for us. So yeah, I think it is going to happen. Is Grey's Anatomy going to fly you and me to LA for a guest star? Probably not, but maybe down the road.
But you know what I think is also probably helping that is I feel like pretty often whenever I'm on a set, I'm chatting with the series regular, and I'm just assuming they live in LA.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, I live in Nashville, or I live in Florida, or I'm like, oh wow, really?
Yeah.
And so I think now the industry is just changing where a lot of people that were like, well, I have to be in LA have realized they don't have to be in LA and they can go live wherever they want.
Yeah.
And so I think also that will change the horizon for us as well because everyone's living wherever they want. So it's just Atlanta becomes just another city that you got to fly someone from.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no, you must be here.
For season 2 of Welcome to Flatch, which shot in Wilmington, season 1 I had to drive. Season 2, part of the deal that Lockhart made for me was that they flew me, which was so nice because it's a 6.5 hour boring drive.
So boring.
It made such a difference to be flown. So, and I was a regional hire. I was a modified local. So that was a big deal that they agreed to fly me.
Dude, the part you got on that is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very fortunate, very lucky. It was a lot of fun to do, and we didn't get a season 3, but it was such an incredible experience, and a different role for me too. To play this scruffy. It's funny because when I got the audition in January of 2020, I read the sides and I was like, oh yeah, this is my dad and my grandfather combined.
Really?
Yeah. More my grandfather, and kind of like that emotionless, unable to show love. My dad is a very, very loving person, but when I was growing up, he was a little guarded. So I was like, oh yeah, I know these guys. Working class guys. Yeah, that's
awesome. You know what? I'm so glad that you just said that because this story is going to be so, I feel like transformational for so many people. Is that immediately, you booked it, obviously. Like immediately what you did is you grabbed something from your life that you don't have to figure anything out. It is from your life. It's from your grandfather. It's your grandfather, a little bit of your dad. And that's what you did. And that's what made it unique. That's what made it stand out. That's why you booked it.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're right. And when I teach, and I know newer actors need the structure of script analysis, and some people write pages and pages of notes. That's great. I mean, honestly, if we're being honest, I read those sides 5 or 6 times. I don't think I wrote anything in the margins.
Yeah,
I learned the lines and I did it because it was instinctual for me. But I'm at a point, as are you in your career, where the instincts can kick in and you don't, I mean, we talk about this at the studio. It's like when you're a newer actor, your process is probably 3 hours working on a script, right? And now for us, it can be 20, 30 minutes and we're like, okay, let's tape this.
Yep. And it's just that repetition. I remember I had a coach. I worked on it forever. She read it one time, getting ready to put me on tape, broke it down better than me. And I was like, what the heck? How did you do that? And she's like, I just read more scripts than you. And then once I started taping people, I'm like, I got it.
Yeah.
Like, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm starting to do this faster, not even realizing it. But it like, I had to read 500 scripts. I had to do 500 auditions with people or however many it was. I don't know how many it was, but it was hundreds for sure.
And I bet you don't get in your head anymore. I bet you don't get in your own way anymore. You know, you get to a point where we are in our careers professionally. It's like, I don't want to say it's, well, I mean, it is easier in a way because it's just, we have a process now that works for us and it's simpler and we don't put all this stuff into it. I do want to can I tell a funny story about Welcome to Flatch?
Yeah, please do.
So it was called This Country when it was first shot. And I'd auditioned, taped, and then they wanted me to come to Wilmington for a callback. And I was shooting something here, so I couldn't. And then they came back, Finn Cannon's office, and said, can Jason Skype? And I talked to the director-producer. It was an indie thing I was doing here. Director-producer on this. I was like, hey, could I get away tomorrow for like an hour? And he's like, yeah, we can make that work. You just let me know what you need. So I went to a Publix parking lot in my car and used my phone as a hotspot and had my laptop on my steering wheel. And I did it was a chemistry read with the lead girl who had already been cast. And it was Paul Feig, who directed Bridesmaids, and Jenny Bix, who was a showrunner, and Lisa Mae Fincannon, and then Holmes, who was the lead on the show. And we did a Skype. We did it, 3-4 times each scene and got direction and notes, and they were so friendly and so fun. Lisa Mae Fincannon was so kind. She sent me the copy of the tape of my call.
Oh, cool.
And it was so great. And I got to tell newer actors, if it had been 20 years earlier, I would have been like, oh my God, I'm in a car. Oh my God, this is going to be, I was like, I'm in my fucking car. I don't care. Whatever. So this is where I am. This is what works. And Paul Feig's on the other side going, Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to do this callback. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Right. The stress that we put on it. And I was like, this is how it is. This is our industry now. I can Skype from my car in a Publix parking lot.
And how badass is that?
Right?
It's so great. Everybody wants to get back in the room. If we go back in the room, we can't do that. We can't take a quick break while filming to go do a callback that puts you on set for however many weeks you were on set for that.
9 episodes over 2 seasons, right? I mean, it was a freaking great experience, but I put no stress on it. I was just like, I'm just gonna do my thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's because I say this like with an asterisk in a way, like because it's like less important. Like, and I don't mean it's not important.
I get it.
It's just less like there's other stuff that we're doing, and like we know that this is a great opportunity, but there's a great opportunity tomorrow too, and there's a great opportunity next week and next month and next year, and one of them's gonna hit. I'm not worried about it. It's like less important.
Yeah. Funny story that relates to that. In 2022, I had a great 2021. It was a great year for both Catherine, my wife, and I. 2022 started, and I got to June, and I had not booked anything, 0. And I don't track my auditions anymore, but I went back and I counted 62 auditions between my LA rep, my Toronto rep, and Atlanta rep, and not a single booking. And I can tell you, Jesse, and you know this for yourself, every one of those auditions was really good, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't see
every audition I love. I'm like, I was incredible. Why? How did I not get this?
But I don't hit submit audition unless I'm 100% confident that I can be competitive, that I can that I can book that role and do it. So we get to June. I booked One Fast Move, this movie with KJ Apa, is that his name? Played from Riverdale. So I booked this movie. I was like, that's cool. Kat and I go to LA. So I hadn't shot it yet. I booked it. And I was like, okay, the dry streak is over. Kat and I go to LA. We had The Man from Toronto screening on one night. And the next night we had the Terminal List screening. So we had 2 back-to-back LA red carpets.
Man, badass.
It was the best. And we got COVID while we were there.
Worth it.
So we came back. We tested, we had COVID, and they had to recast me in the film.
Oh, right.
So Gary Weeks got the role. So
Gary's great.
So you're welcome, Gary. And most of the time, Gary's the number 1 and I'm the number 2, so it was reversed.
Yeah.
And I love him. He's a great guy, very talented guy. Luckily, the second half of the year, Flatch came back, and I did season 2, and then I did NCIS, and so it redeemed itself. But we talk about momentum and we talk about we can't, there's no rhyme or reason, right? 62 auditions, they either cut the role, it went different gendered, it went different ethnicity, it went older, it went younger. We can't control that stuff. And what I control in my auditions is my preparation and what I do on the mark in the moment. It's like, that's what I can control, right?
Yes.
I'm preaching to the choir here. But the whole Flatch thing was a great lesson for me as far as like, just this is how it is. This is what it is. Quick side story for that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I love side stories.
This relates to our industry building relationships and planting seeds. So in 1999, I did a little show called Sex and the City, season 2. It was my first big booking. I'd done soap operas in New York, but I had not done like big HBO stuff. And it was one episode. It was opposite Kristen Davis, who played Charlotte, and it was so much fun. I had the best time. And now there's several stories in this. But a few months later, we invited 10 people over to our apartment to watch the episode, and I wasn't on it.
Oh, yeah.
My role had been completely cut.
Sounds about right.
Completely cut. They completely cut our storyline, and it was devastating. But fast forward to 2020, and being on that Skype call with Paul Feig and Jenny Bix. Well, Jenny Bix wrote the episode of Sex and the City I was in 20 years earlier.
Whoa.
And she was an executive producer on Sex and the City, and she remembered me.
Get out of here.
When she saw my tape for Flatch, she remembered me. And when I was on the Skype call and she came on, she was like, "Hi, Jason." 20 years, right? So what did I do 20 years previously? I showed up. I was a pro. I was kind. I didn't, I wasn't an asshole on set. I did the job. 20 years later, she remembered that. And I got hired on Flatch. So do I wish she'd hired me sooner than 20 years?
Totally, yeah.
But we're always laying those seeds. You never know. I was on a show, season 1, that's in season 4 right now, and a tiny co-star in season 1, and they're starting season 4, and they just reached out to Lockhart to see if I'm available. And I was like, oh, okay, that's unexpected. For the same role, right? To come back as that guy. And I just don't want to mention it because I don't want to jinx it. But if we do good work, if we show up, if we're professional, and we, like I say, lead with kindness and grace, people are going to remember you. I look at the people you've worked with. It's because of relationships, a lot of it.
Dude, not only that though, but I actually want to flip the coin of that.
Good.
Because I think sometimes we're like, what the heck? I did such a good, well, the 62 auditions where we crushed it. And we're like, how the heck did I not get that? We don't know what's happening behind the scenes of, like, when you really look at Welcome to Flatch, right? Like, really nobody else had a shot. Nobody else had a shot. I'm sure there are a lot of other people had some good auditions, but you were able to bring real life experience that was perfect for that character. And then the producer remembered you as soon as she saw your tape, probably was like, I love it. I've been wanting to work with this guy again for 20 years. And meanwhile, you have the however many other actors that are like, man, I did such a good job. Why didn't I get it? And so I think looking at the other side of the coin is important too, is like, continue to build your relationships, continue to do good work, continue to show up and do all of that. And then you'll be on that other side of the coin where nobody else had a chance except you. And it's just so many other things that are out of our control. The things that we do have control, just like you're saying, those are the things to focus on. Those are the things to improve and be excited about, and know that those are the things in the journey that are going to continue to propel us forward.
Yeah. I feel bad for the 3 guys that drove to Wilmington from Atlanta for that callback.
Yeah.
And Holmes, the lead on the show, told me later, she's like, yeah, 3 guys were in the room before you, and then we came on the Skype with you. She said the Skype finished, and Jenny turned to Paul and was like, yes. And Paul was like, okay, let's talk. But yeah, it was done in the room right then and there. I want to go back to Man for Toronto, because this is funny. When I was on set in Toronto, I met Jason Blumenthal, who was one of the producers on it. And first words out of his mouth is like, oh my God, man. So where do you live? Atlanta, Toronto, where do you live? He's like, we booked you in Atlanta. I was like, and then I get this random email that you can work in Toronto. He said, man, your tape was the best. He said, as soon as I saw your tape, I said, no more, don't look at any more tapes. This is the guy.
Wow.
And I was like, we don't very often get that kind of information.
Right.
And I was like, wow, I feel bad for the other guys that taped for.
Right, that got it in I don't know like when you got it in, but you know, they got it in later than you, and that was the downfall.
And I have a great story regarding that. Don't sweat the small stuff, which I did for Lifetime. Number 2 on the call sheet, opposite Heather Locklear, who was, you know, my high school crush. So that was fun. When I got that audition, it was a Wednesday night, and it was due Monday. Okay, and it was 3 scenes. It was a lot, and luckily I had that Thursday was open for me. And Catherine and I worked on it. I did really work on that script because it was great material. And we taped it, and it felt kick-ass. Sent it Thursday probably by noon. And by Friday, I was the director's pick. By Saturday, the producers had approved me, and they were just waiting for Lifetime to approve me on Monday morning. So if anyone waited till Tuesday to get their audition in, they didn't even get seen.
I hear these stories all the time. Stories all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how actors keep asking the same question. Do I really need to get it in before the deadline? It's like, I mean, it gives you a better... This is the thing, is you don't know when it gives you a better shot.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So just know that it can. Yeah. So if you want to take advantage of it, you should.
Yeah. Catherine just auditioned for a show that Ryan Murphy's doing in New York, and
I love Ryan Murphy.
I know.
The stuff he does is so wild to me. He does like you never put them in the same portfolio. Like I don't know how he can be so different in everything. It's incredible.
This is the show about Aaron Rodgers, the football player.
Oh,
he's doing and Catherine's she got the audition. What's today? Friday. She got it Wednesday, and it's due Monday, and we got it in yesterday.
Yeah,
it's like, and because I was like, oh, Catherine, this role is you.
Yeah.
Like, and I taped her yesterday, and we did one take, and I was like, do you want to do another one? She's like, let's watch it. We watched it, and she's like, let's do a safety. So we did 2 takes, right? And we still sent take 1.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens over time, right? But I hear about younger actors. You hear about newer actors, right? Or you've been in the room with newer actors who do 14, 15, 16, 17 takes.
You can't.
It's like you're just going down a wormhole that you're never going to get out of.
No.
And like we talked about earlier, the guy that I taped at Drama Inc. and he came in and he was like, it's for Stranger Things. Can you imagine if I booked this? Oh my God. It's like, it's just an audition. Okay?
Yes.
Just slow your roll. Yeah, it'd be cool to book Stranger Things, but don't put that weight on your audition.
Yeah.
Don't put that heaviness of, oh my God, can you imagine what my aunt in Des Moines will think of me being on Stranger Things? It's like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I could tell.
I know. We could have
stories all day, right?
endless stories. Yeah. I feel like we could just talk about credits and being on set and have a blast. But I absolutely want to bring up the service that you give within the community with Drama Inc., within the co-founders that we also talked about. Can you talk about specifically the importance that you and the team find in the service that you give the actors and bringing up these new actors and what you guys do in Drama Inc.?
I mean, I think from your experience in helping actors is there's nothing more satisfying than seeing someone who came in green and didn't know shit, and now they're doing, recurring guest star on something, right?
Yeah.
We look at the Atlanta success stories, right? Like Alexis Louder, Tyner Rushing, Madison Thompson. They've all been series regulars, and they all took classes at several places in Atlanta, but passed through Drama Inc. at some point. And that it's rewarding. And we never take credit for that, right? We don't say, oh, we did this, but it's nice. It's a great feeling that like, hey, we helped show someone a path.
Yeah.
Because we say at Drama Inc. that it's a business of opinions, right? You and I have opinions.
Yeah.
I think you and I line up on a lot of our opinions, but we probably have differing ones too. So you can't take everything at as set in concrete. And we give people, what I like is we give people different points of view. This pains me to say this, but we have 28 people on staff, which is awesome. But it's also, we offer a lot of classes, and I think we're the place in Atlanta that offers the most techniques because we have Meisner, Chubbuck, Viewpoints, Linklater, Uta Hagen. We offer a wide range of things for actors to discover what works for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when you get into our on-camera classes, differing points of view there with our teachers, right? Claire is a different teacher than Catherine is. Catherine's a different teacher than Alex Collins is. Alex is different than Michael Cook is, or April Billingsley. And we have a lot of crossover, right? We have people who teach at several studios. I know April, taught at Catapult, and I think she's done stuff for you. And I love that. I love that. I'm like, if a teacher reaches out to me like, hey, I want to teach a class, I'm like, go for it. Go for it. This is a community.
Yeah.
I've never been one that's like, okay, Catapult, Get Seen, that it's like enemy. It's like, no, shit, we're all part of this together. And that's what's so great about Atlanta, right? Versus New York, where it is hyper competitive and where you get into acting classes and it's like, okay, what's this guy? What can he do, right?
Right.
We don't get that as much here. We get people who are just like, okay, I want to be part of a community. I want to feel supported and I want to learn and grow. And, it's a labor of love. It's exhausting at times, but it's also very, very rewarding.
It is.
And you know that, absolutely.
If you're enjoying the podcast, I know you'll enjoy this story. Many years ago, I wanted to write a book, and one of my coaches said the title of the book should be something that is a huge pain point for actors. I want you to think about that and figure out what it is. And I immediately knew what it was: rejection. And actors having to deal with that rejection over and over and over again. And so he said, that's the title of your book. And so I want to send you my best-selling book, Turning Rejection into Success, Creating an Actor's Positive Mindset. The book is set up into a 52-week series to give you motivation and inspiration as you're on your actor journey. And I want to send it to you for free. So there's a link in the description. All you got to do is put in your email and I will send it to you immediately. So this can be a fantastic tool as you are on your journey and you find that success as an actor. Why do you think we don't have that same competitiveness? Because we are competitive, right?
Sure.
But it's not like this enemy competitiveness.
Yeah.
And it's been brought up on the podcast so many times about just Atlanta, the Southeast. Why do you think that is?
Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I just think that the pool is not as big. In LA, there are so many actors. And the pool, as you know, in the last 10 years has gotten much bigger here. But it's something to ponder because I don't have a straight up answer for that. But
we just gotta keep it good.
Yeah,
just keep it nice.
Erica Arvald said it to me. She said community, not competition. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys do your thing at Get Seen. Eric does his thing at Catapult. Erica does her thing at Arvald. We do our thing at Drama Inc. And they intersect a lot, which is so cool with students and teachers. And I tell students all the time, please go study somewhere else. Go take a class somewhere else. Go over and see Jesse. Go take a workshop. Go take an agent workshop or a casting director workshop and get different perspectives. And
Yeah.
get in front of people. So I love it. I mean, look, I'm sitting here right now, and I know there are people in Atlanta that are like, oh, Get Seen and Drama Inc. Yeah, oh boy, they're enemies. Like, no. Jesse called us like the first, I'm going to say this straight to camera, the first or second week we were open, called us and was like, hey, I'm Jesse Malinowski, and we just opened a studio, and you guys did. And, I still remember that because it was like, that was high class, as my mother would say. That was high class.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thank you. And you said how many instructors did you say?
Well, we have 28, including instructors, tapers, and interns.
Okay, so 28.
So instructors, I think there's 11 or 12 right now.
Yeah, but 28, within the Drama Inc. team family. And so what would you say, because you're obviously a leadership role there at Drama Inc. What are some things that you've learned having to take on that leadership role? Because it's different when you're like, I got this idea to do Drama Inc. with my friends and my wife. This will be cool, to where it is today, which is much different. And you, as a man, as an individual, have to level up and have to grow. What are some things that you've found?
Gary Vee. I don't know if you.
Yeah, of course.
I love Gary Vee, and he said, realizing that no one's going to care as much about your business as you do, right? It's critical. Like, we have passionate, dedicated people, but they don't go home and get into bed and think about the numbers.
Right.
They don't think about, getting the 1099s out or the tax stuff or the business license. That stuff's not on their mind. No one cares about your business more than you do. And as actors, no one cares about your career more than you do, right? Jesse Malinowski is the person who cares the most about Jesse Malinowski's acting career.
Yes.
That's
right.
it, right? But yeah, I think my parents were both, my dad was working class and then worked his way up into middle management at a steel company. And my mom became a manager in an insurance company. And I saw how they led as a kid, as a teenager. I remember my dad had a hearing impaired employee who came over, and my dad didn't know sign language. He came to our house, and my dad was helping him do his taxes. And he was like some guy from the steel plant who worked on the floor. But my dad was just like, this guy needs help. I'm going to help him out. And that just stayed with me. I was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
You know,
How old were you?
probably like 11.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
I was like, who's this guy that dad's with who can't, you know, he's like, okay. You know, he had
Right.
he could speak a little bit, but he had trouble forming words, and he and my dad were communicating together, and they were writing notes to each other. And I was like, wow, dad's just helping this guy out. He wasn't charging him money or anything. He was his boss. So I just always think, I don't know, it sounds so corny to say, it just always comes back to kindness, but putting yourself in that other person's shoes, going, you know, when we have a meeting with a teacher that, you know, something's not necessarily going the way that we think it should, we always start with, so how do you feel about, you know, how do you feel about what's happening in this class or with this class? And why do you think it's not filling, or whatever the question is? Always giving it to them first to say, okay, well, I don't think you guys have promoted it hard enough, or whatever it is. So, yeah, I mean, I think listening is so important for leaders. Listening to other ideas and being open to other people's ideas.
Yes.
Right? So I knew what Drama Inc. was before we opened. I had it on paper 3 years before we opened. I had the logo made. I had the business plan. It was ready to go. I knew what it was. And we became friends with Clarence Scott, and it became even more than that. And what is on paper from 2013 is very different from what it is now.
Yeah.
Because you can't see that road. I couldn't see 28 people on the staff
Right.
down there when it was just the four of us doing everything. So I think leading by listening and being open, staying open. And I'm in my 50s. There are people my age who just get very set in their ways, and there's like, yeah, I'm just who I am now. And I don't want to ever be that. I always want to be evolving. I always want to be learning new things. I'm starting flying lessons. I'm going to try to get my private pilot's license.
Oh, nice. I was thinking about doing that too.
Well,
and I was like,
let's do it.
You know what? All right. So hold on. I have to tell you. So my business coach was like, oh yeah, I did that. I call it the $500 cheeseburger. And I was like, $500 cheeseburger? What do you mean? And he's like, you have to continue to practice. So what you end up doing is, you'll tell Candace, hey, it's a Saturday, like, let's go take the plane, and you'll fly to a city, you'll land, you'll have a cheeseburger, and then you'll fly back, and it's about $500. And I was like, this sounds horrible.
Yeah, I've been looking at flight schools. I went to one in Gwinnett. I actually went up in a plane before Christmas, and I got to take the controls, and it was really cool. But
so you're hooked? You're doing it?
Yeah. I've got some materials that I'm gonna do ground school first, and then see how that goes.
Okay.
But the point being that
it's just pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Always.
Yes.
Always. I want to learn new things. I want to know. I never want to be that person that's not relevant anymore. I think staying relevant as you get older is a worry for artists. What I have to say, does it still matter? But yeah.
Well, I think also like I think like I love where your mindset is, and just like I want to continue to evolve, right? And you're like, I'm gonna do this flight school, and I'll start with this, and you know what? You might do like the ground stuff and be like, this is too much. I don't want to do it, and know that it's okay to just be like, no, I'm gonna switch. Now I'm gonna do salsa lessons.
Yeah.
Or now I'm gonna do X, Y. Now I'm gonna rock climb or whatever it is. Like I'm gonna go just do something else, and I'll just continue to change and switch and evolve until I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I took my first class at Drama Inc. last year.
Really?
I was like, I want to try stand up. And I was looking at online at like places that teach stand up. I was like, wait a minute, I own a studio. And I reached out to Ryan King. I was like, can you teach stand up? He's like, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do a class. So I took a class.
That's awesome.
And I haven't gone to any open mic nights, but I did it. I was like, I wrote my 5-minute set. It was a lot of fun. I got to, be be in class with people I knew, other students, and it was just a lot of fun. So
I bet.
yeah, I want to just always be open and remain open-minded. And I think, travel, I always say travel is so important, right? Seeing other cultures, seeing how other people live, understanding that the way we live here in the U.S. is not the only way, right? There are billions of people, 5 billion people in the world, and
Yeah.
different. So I'm so obsessed with travel.
Me too. Me and Kenny, we love it. Yeah.
And that's, if I can, I know you were talking with Jason about balance, which has always been a thing that I talk about as well, and finding that balance in your life. And Catherine and I've really tried to balance Drama Inc., our acting careers, and then having home life and time together and time for ourselves and time to travel. It's super important. So
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect segue because I wanted to bring up Catherine, and you all have been together. I mean, I think I saw on Facebook or something. It's a picture of you two. I think you're in New York, but I mean it is so long ago. I mean, how long have you guys been together and married?
Oh my God, we met in 1988.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is wild.
Yeah,
And
crazy. I was 22, and we got married in 91. Oh my God.
good for you
It's
guys.
insane. It's insane. And, we've only come close to divorce about 4 or 5 times this year. No. Hey, listen, marriage is a lot of work, and I'm very, very, very fortunate to be with a partner who is so chill, and she's funny and she's smart, and we are just the best friends in the world. And, we have a lot of passion for what we do, and we celebrate each other's wins.
Yeah.
It's huge. I mean, Catherine's success for me, people are like, "Oh, are you jealous?" I'm like, no. I mean, yeah, sure, I'd like to have been on Stranger Things and gotten the buzz that she got, but I'm not jealous. I'm just like, because a win, you probably have this here too. It's like a win for you is a win for Candy. A win for Candy is a win for you, right?
Yeah.
It's all,
Sometimes I want it for her more.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I will celebrate more if it's for her as opposed to it being for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was, when they were doing Taken 3 here, like 6-7 years ago, there was a role of NSA man. It was like a page and a bit scene with Forrest Whitaker. It was a great scene, and every guy between 30 and 60 auditioned for it, and I auditioned for it. And then they saw a few women. And I'm driving on Boulevard. I still remember this. And it's Catherine. I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "Do you know who booked that role in Taken 3?" And I was like, "No, who?" She's like, "Me." I was like, "What? You booked that role?" I was like so thrilled for her. Like, it's like if I book it or she books it, it's still in that same household. And they cut, by the side note is they cut that scene down to like 2 lines. But,
Yeah.
but she's in there. She's like, "Here are the photos you wanted, sir." And she turns and walks away.
Jeez.
But I mean, hey, we all do those roles, and we all have our sob stories about things that got cut. Sex in the City.
So I love the celebration that you both have for one another, and you talked about the balance. How it's easier said than done on the like, oh, we make sure to balance Drama Inc. and our acting careers and then our home life, and yay, we're a happy family that only almost divorced a few times. So how do you guys do it? Like, what advice do you have on really being able to balance the, like, I'll call it kind of like service and in like work a little bit, and then also like your passion and craft and career along with a loved one, and then even personal life. Like, how do you both do that?
Figure out what's important. Figure out what matters the most to you. I posted something at the beginning of the year about this. My word for 2024 is less, because I want to do less of certain things, so I create more space in other areas. And Kat and I have made definitely a decision we're not going to be getting together with people that don't matter to us. And that sounds kind of harsh, but this. You get a lot of invites for a lot of people, right? You guys get invited to stuff and dinners, and people want to take you out, and people want to pick your brain.
Oh no, no
picking my brain.
No. Those coffee dates stopped a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, so my information's worth a cup of coffee. Great.
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff out there. We could be going to see shows every night and people's plays and improv and stand up, and students invite us to stuff, and we would love to support that stuff. But we have to protect us and our well-being, and sometimes just being at home and being with the dogs is the best thing ever, right? And just being chill. And, we balance a lot, and it's really hard sometimes. We have an army of dog sitters. I mean, in 2021, and when Catherine was in LA doing Terminal List and morning show at the same time, and her schedules were all over the map and didn't know what was happening. And then I was here in Atlanta and teaching and running the studio and having to worry about the dog. I mean, it gets crazy at times. And in 2022, I was in Wilmington on Flatch, and she was in Detroit shooting a movie, and we've got like 5 dog sitters and trying to navigate all that stuff and getting our classes covered at Drama Inc. There's definitely, hair pulling out moments, right? It's like, whoa, but you just have to breathe and go, okay, what's important? What's the most important thing here? Okay, the most important thing here is that I've got to be on set tomorrow morning, right? And I've got to do this scene, and this is a number 1 priority. Drama Inc., I can, we've got a studio. That's why we have a studio manager. It's why we have partners. And that's a great thing about the partnership at DI, is that we vowed from day one that our individual careers came first. Right. Yep. So we always covered for each other. And that's worked for over 10 years. So we're very fortunate. I know for you own your company. I've got 3 partners, which can be, can be an interesting thing to navigate because you've got 4 opinions. But I love it that we cover each other, and we cover together. We cover all the bases. Scott does all the technical stuff. Claire's producing now, and Kat's very involved in the development of new classes, and so we all have our areas. So it's really great. But,
I mean that's awesome. You could say that I own the company by myself, but I mean I definitely would not be here without the team that I surround myself with, and Candy behind the scenes helping, and Elaine, our talent care director, and even the people before them that helped when we had our intern program, and Virginia Kirby that was the studio manager when we would never be where we're at without all those people. So I mean, the team is so important, and really letting people like thrive in the things that they're good at, I think, is also important. And if you it allows you to, I think, grow faster. Because if you're trying to get good at things that you're not that good at, just go find somebody that's good at it and let them thrive in it.
Please, that's so awesome. I always say that. I said, I recognize what you're not good at. Mm-hmm. I mean, it even comes down to painting, right? I hate painting.
I'm not painting anything.
There are people who paint. That's their business. Hire them.
Yeah. Candy and I used to think we got on this run where we were watching HGTV, and we're going to start doing our DIY projects. We had about almost 4 divorces just doing that. And we just realized, you know what? We're not doing any more DIY projects. We're not doing anything. We're hiring anytime anything needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, just knowing the areas that you don't want to touch, that you're not necessarily good at and don't want to get good at. I don't want to be a good painter.
Nope.
I don't want to be a good roofer. It's there are people that do that stuff. So, there's no easy answer to finding the balance, right? We're all searching for it, but I think it's critical. And I heard you say with Jason Lockhart on this show something about what was it?
Whatever it was brilliant.
It was brilliant. No, but it came into my head and it went out of my head. Oh man, it'll come back to me. Sorry, it was.
No worries. You know what? Actually, it's a better plug. Everyone go watch Jason Lockhart.
Watch the Jason Lockhart one, because Jason is one of the kindest people.
He's so good.
We're so lucky to have him as our agent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he fights for us, and he's so positive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, he's one of the few people that I'm like, he might be more positive than me. Or when I'm feeling positive, I'm like, or feeling down, and I'm like, no one's getting me out of this. Jason can. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he is, and man, does he go to the mat for us? Holy mackerel! It's really
he does.
You want to talk about somebody calling a cast director and saying, "No, Jesse's worth over scale." Jesse, look at what he's done. Look at his resume. He's worth, $2,200 for this day, rather than the $16 you're trying to pay him or whatever. I mean, it's just I love that, and he will fight for us. But he's great. He'll go, I think this is the best we're going to get for this.
Right.
You know, my second season of Flatch was a whole set of negotiations, and you know, he came to one point. He and Madison were working on it together, and they were like, "Yeah, I think this is as good as it's going to get." And I'm like, "Fine, it's a great deal. I'll take it."
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we love Jason Lockhart. We could sit here for an hour and talk.
I know we can just start the podcast over and talk about how great Jason
and Kelly
is for
and
sure.
Madison at AMT. Great
The whole
agency.
team over at AMT for sure.
And you know, when we moved here from New York, we were with Houghton and Misty. I love Misty. She's just a great human being, wonderful person, and she was a great agent.
I mean, the truth is, I mean, just like the community of actors are, I think we're like connected and we support each other and we're all kind of like in it for each other. I feel like the agents here are like that too. I mean, I think all the agents are great, and it really just boils down to relationship anyway.
Yeah.
Like you can be with an AMT, a People Store, a Houghton, an AWA. It doesn't matter who you're with. If you have a good relationship with that agent, then they're going to be inspired and motivated to want to fight for you. Yeah. And so, you know, we've established that type of relationship with Jason, and that's why he fights, I think. You know, but it doesn't matter who you are. If you can cultivate and nurture and water that garden at, you know, with that agent at their agency, then it can be great. I always tell actors when they're like, well, I don't know about this agency. I'm like, well, they're in business, so someone's working. So why can't it be you? Right. You know, right. So, you know, I think all the agencies are continuing to grow and get better here in this market, and that's why we're all growing.
Yeah, and you're right. I don't see a lot of hyper competitiveness between the agencies or the casting directors here. I mean, in that, you know, like I was saying earlier about the actors, it's like there's not this cutthroat competitiveness here, which is really nice, and I think it's true on that side as well. And we celebrate each other's wins. You know, when I see an Atlanta actor booking a series regular, or you know, big
it's a win for everyone.
It's it's like, damn, yes, awesome.
Yep.
And that's becoming more of a thing. You know, in the time you've been in Atlanta, you've seen that change, right? Yes. When you moved here, it was like scale co-stars, right? That was it. Scale
and then I remember, oh man, who was it? I mean, if I said her name, I know you'd know who it is too. But it was like the first time that we heard, oh my God, a series regular happened. But it was like one or two that year out of everyone, you know what I mean? And I feel like each year that continues to multiply.
It does. And I mean, hats off to Tyler Perry for casting so many Atlanta-based talent as series regulars, and Will Packer, you know, Ambitions had Kendrick Cross and a bunch of people who were Atlanta-based actors as series regulars. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. And we live in a great city. It's easy, you know, it's easy to live here. The cost of living's low compared to New York or LA, and we've got great communities. So
yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Actors like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move. You know, we have actors who have like 2 co-star cards. Like, I'm going to LA. It's like, why? Why,
bro?
And you know, we have a couple students out there now who are parking cars, you know, at a fancy restaurant. It's like, okay, you're paying your dues. How's the agent search going out there with your credits of short films that no one's ever heard of?
Yeah.
It's hard out there. You can get it. You know this. You can get an agent in Atlanta with short films on your resume.
You can,
right?
Yeah. As long as you have your materials in order and you're not crazy, you can make it happen. But yeah, I felt the same way when I was in New York. I was like, I'm working so hard just to like live and survive.
Yeah.
And, like where am I finding the time to like go follow this passion and follow this career? And, you know, I feel like that's what you're up against in New York and Los Angeles. Not to knock the cities at all. I never regret going to New York. I love New York, and I can't wait to go back for a project too. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the city here, I think is magnetic, and you can get in the city, but you can also get out of the city. Like you have the best of everything. And we got the best airport in the world. You can get anywhere you want so easily.
Yeah, when we moved down here, you know, Catherine and I are really fortunate because we were here at the dawn of the new era of, you know, 2000. Still remember 2008, 2009. We had an agent. We were with Houghton, and we had this punk ass agent. What was his name? Oh, Chase Paris. Yeah. Do you know this story, right? He worked at Houghton. He worked at Cheesecake Factory on the weekends.
He talked about it. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I haven't watched this yet. we would come sit at his bar and be like, "Hey, did you watch my audition for Army Wives?" And he's just like making a drink over here.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Awful, right?
I love it.
So,
Wait, what did he say? Did he say that he watched
I'd be
it?
like, fuck off. But Chase was so like right there at the very beginning, and I think he had the vision. He saw what was coming, and we all started booking a lot because the talent pool was very small. And I still remember like 2009 was like one of my best years ever. Like boom, 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 boom. There was so much going on, and then Chase, went into casting with Tara and took all of that knowledge. And I'm proud of him. As much as I joke about him being a punk ass, but I'm proud of him and what he's accomplished and what he and Tara have done. And it's like, wow,
incredible.
And we have great casting directors here. I mean, they're just they love actors.
Mm-hmm.
They love actors. They love discovering new actors. Jackie Birch said that once to me. We were at her house, and she said she had to get up in the morning and watch 500 tapes. It was a Sunday, and it was like she's like, I got to watch 500 tapes tomorrow. I was like, you don't really watch them all, do you? She's like, yeah, I do, because I never know when I'm going to find that 1 in 1,000, or 1 in a million person, right? Like that's casting. They're like, okay, yeah, we can see Jesse for this because we know him. We can see Jason, we know him. But they're still always looking for that new spark, that new person. So,
yep, exactly.
So there is hope, kids.
And that person can be you. Well, Jason, I feel like this brings us to our spotlight sign off, which is 5 questions to end strong. And so the first one is, what is something that you are incredibly grateful for today?
I'm incredibly grateful for my mom and dad, who are 86 years old, and they are still with us. They live in Canada, so I don't see them as much as I want, but they are funny, sharp, and they are the people who shaped me by teaching me to lead with kindness. And I'm really grateful for whatever time we have with them. So
I love that.
Yeah.
You gotta get up there. This is your sign.
Yeah. No, I went up 3 times last year, and I'll get up there a bunch more this year. So
nice.
For sure.
What is a book, TV show, movie, or event that completely changed the trajectory of your life?
Okay. 9 years old. Stage production of The Wizard of Oz, possibly the first play I ever saw, professional play I ever saw, and I was mesmerized. And I just watched, and I remember the final scene, and I could get emotional talking about this at 9. The farmhands, when Dorothy comes back at the end, and I noticed silver makeup on one of the guys, and I was like, wait, he was the Tin Man? And he changed costumes, and now he's this guy? Like, I remember the revelation at that moment blew my mind. And I just never stopped after. I was like, Mom, okay, so if an actor's on stage and they get hiccups, what do they do? Mom, how do they remember all those lines? Like, I just bugged the hell out of her. But it was a pivotal moment in my life. It really was. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't know anything about that, but I want to do that. And my mom got me into theater classes, and I was terrible, and I was awkward, and I was clumsy. And then I just kept doing theater and as a kid, and got better and better in high school. And then, I didn't go to college. I moved straight to New York City from high school, and no regrets at all.
Yeah, me too.
Don't get an MFA in acting.
Don't get an MFA in acting. I can't agree more.
I mean, every time someone asks me to write them a letter for Yale or an MFA program, I'm like, okay. No, and it's not to diss higher education. If that's what you want to do, you want to teach, and you feel like that experience would be great for you, then hey, go for it. I'm not, but to do what you and I do, you do not need an MFA.
Right.
You do not need all that crushing debt. And there's definitely value in higher education, but even without going to college, I've managed to forge this career and own 2 businesses and, I don't know, succeed, I guess. So yeah, boy, that was a long-winded answer.
No, I didn't realize we were gonna get in the don't go to college talk. I feel like there's gonna be parents that are like, I can't let my kid listen to this.
Right?
But no, I mean, yeah, the debt that you take on is just ridiculous, and you just learn so much more by doing.
Yeah,
and
I think the college experience, undergrad is super important for a lot of people, right? Because a lot of people discover who they are in those 4 years. And
yeah,
that's
definitely.
Great. But I mean, at 18, I knew I knew what the hell I wanted to do. I was so driven. It's funny, because I didn't for a long time think of myself as an ambitious person. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so ambitious.
Yeah.
So driven, which isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad
No,
thing.
not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Well, we talked about your morning routine already. So it was a foreshadowing to this question, but what is your favorite thing within that morning routine, or what's something in there that like you really cherish?
Sometimes it's interesting. Try not to make this too long-winded. I walk Dolly first for a mile because we're still having leash issues with her.
We both have a Dolly, which
We
is
both
incredible.
have Dolly named Dolly. And I walk her for a mile, and then I come back and I get Bo, and I walk him for 2 miles, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. And I've had moments when I'm walking Bo, and I look down at this incredible creature, this dog who loves me with all his heart, and I'm just like, I'm so lucky. And I'm so lucky because I have the time to do this, because I've carved out in my world, in my life, this time. When I had my restaurant, it was a breakfast and lunch restaurant, getting up at 5:30 in the morning and getting to the restaurant at 6 a.m., there was no time for anything. It was time to throw clothes on and have a cup of coffee. So I'm so thankful for that, for just being present. And it's, trying to be present is something I've strived for. We're all, you and I, we're the kind of people who are always thinking 10 steps ahead, right? What's coming. So it's hard for us sometimes to just go, be present. And that's what that does for me, especially when I'm walking Bo, because he's so good on the leash and he's just so chill. And
dogs are special.
And he makes people smile. Like I'm walking and people are like, oh, he's so handsome. And I just love that feel of like, I've carved this out for myself. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that, I've created a life for myself and for Catherine. We have together where we have the time, and we have time to just sit and be.
Good. You should be proud.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Fourth question is, what is something you're currently working on to improve in your life?
Nothing. I'm perfect. I need no improvement. Yeah, I am still always working on reactive anger. I've been in therapy at times in my life, and it's always been a theme for me. Some stuff in my past that boils up for me. So I'm constantly working on not letting anger overtake the other things I'm feeling. And so it's funny because I think people who know me and watch this would be like, Jason, angry?
Yeah, totally.
It's in there. It's in there deep. And I think my business partners have unfortunately seen some of that, especially in the first few years. And
unfortunately, it is the people closest to you that get the brunt of those things. Yeah.
And Catherine certainly has seen anger. So it's something I'm always working on is countering that and resolving that anger. Because there's some things from my past that I'm still angry about. And it's like, one of the mantras is I leave the past behind, right? I release the past. I bless it and release it. And it's, it's not always easy to do when things are really deep in there. So, yeah. Oof, boy, it just felt like we're in therapy.
Yeah.
That was really exposing.
Well, I was going to say, for anyone else that might be kind of dealing with anger issues, how are you releasing it? How are you working on it?
It starts with forgiving the people that I'm angry with. So I recently meditated for a long time on one of those and really released it. And some of this happens on my walks in the morning.
Yeah.
Just going, okay, I forgive you. I forgive you. And forgiveness isn't always easy.
No.
When someone has scarred you. That sounds so dramatic, but
it's just not as easy as we'd like it to be, right?
Exactly. But I think another thing I'm proud of is that I'm always striving to be a better person. Always. I always want to be a better version of myself.
Yes.
There's, plenty of interactions that could have gone better in my life. And I want future ones to go really well and smoothly. Like I said, I don't like conflict. I want to resolve things. So looking for resolution.
Yeah. Final question.
Okay.
The final question is, based on your life and the listeners right now, if there's just one thing, one piece of advice you wanted to make sure that they all got, what would it be?
Nobody has this life figured out. People talk about imposter syndrome, right? Majority of people feel like, oh my God. I mean, Jason Lockhart talked about it, right? Fake it till you make it. I think if I could go back to 20-something Jason in New York and auditioning, and when I would walk into those rooms, those audition rooms, and see the other guys, and I'd be like, oh shit, he's really good looking, or oh man, I saw him on something. I mean, I used to see Bradley Cooper at auditions back in the day, in the early 2000s, and it would be like, oh, that guy's really good looking. You know, I would psych myself out. Those guys didn't have it figured out. They were just there doing their thing too, right?
Yeah.
They had the same nerves, the same doubts, the same, oh God, you know, I hate this mole on my face, or whatever, the stuff that everyone has. So we may look up to people, and people look up to you, and people look up to me. We don't have it all figured out. You know, we're still processing, we're still learning, still discovering. And I think once you release that, go, oh, okay, we're all humans. We're all just trying to make our way. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know? So
That's awesome. Well, Jason, last thought.
Yeah.
You are good looking.
I didn't even talk about aging on camera. It's a thing.
Aging happens. Candy's episode 1. What did she say? I think she said aging's a disease, and I'm trying to fight diseases.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially when you get into like editing your reels, and you're like, I can't have this clip on here anymore because I don't look like this anymore. So, but thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, man, for being here.
This is so awesome. I really appreciate you asking me to be here, and you know, we're both in the same journey as far as like wanting to help actors, and I think this helps a lot. I think the information that you're putting out there for people really means a lot, helps a lot. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
Everyone, let us know how much you loved this episode. Drop a review, drop a comment. Let us know how much you're loving it, how it's impacting your life. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your moment. Everyone, thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one.